What happens if a situation arises that you were unprepared for? A situation such as a blizzard, a tornado, or being locked down due to a virus. Put yourself in any possible situation that could arise. Now ask yourself, what would you do? Where would you go? What do you need? Are you ready? Because what if tomorrow? Welcome to What If Tomorrow. I'm Philip. Uh-oh. Oh, what happened? I don't know if I'm there or if Mark's there. Already rough. What's going on here? I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you now.
Okay, did I lose you or did you lose me?
I am not sure. Enzo, you are correct. That was a surprise.
That was a surprise. There it is, right there. Okay, show's
kind of expected the internet to work.
All right. Yeah, by the way, I'm Philip, if you don't know. And it looks like Mark froze up again.
I'm Mark.
What the heck?
Or Squirrel Boy.
Yeah. Man, tonight, I just want to explain the title for tonight's show. It's a surprise. I've been extremely busy at work, and Mark texted me yesterday. I had to work yesterday too. Mark texted me yesterday, wasn't it? And you said, hey, what are we talking about tomorrow night? And I'm like, it's a surprise. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things. We're going to throw whatever at you and see what sticks, I guess. Hey, first thing, I do want to share something with you guys. If you're not in the Facebook group, I did share it to them. But excuse me. If you are watching right now, this streams on the What If Tomorrow YouTube channel, but it's in the process. That way you guys can see. On the Fringe, we're building the on the Fringe YouTube site. I've got to, hopefully we get the weekend off this coming weekend for Thanksgiving. And I intend to put a new trailer together to get it rolling. Once we get it rolling and start running it, we're going to start streaming on the Fringe on the Fringe YouTube. So yeah, it's promising. We got some stuff in the work. I'm gonna kind of looking at things and revamping the What If Tomorrow channel, kind of get a different feel for it. Try to help the algorithm out and to get us out there to a wider audience. With that being said, let's do the business side.
Hey, this is Mark with What If Tomorrow and What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. Be sure to check out our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com, and look at our cool merch. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more. Our affiliates are Duke Cannon, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, and Conflicted the Game. Or check out buymeacoffee.com/whatiftomorrow and buy us a coffee. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and share on both Facebook and YouTube. It helps get our content out to others and help our channel grow. Now on with the show.
Yeah, so man, it's been crazy at work. Like I said, I mean, we worked all last week through yesterday, so we've been kind of nonstop. I mean, I did take Veterans Day off because that's an option that the company where we work for gives us, and I take it every year. Just it's a day off. But no, I haven't had a lot of time to dig in and really do some research on some of these subjects. So we figure we're going to be a free for all tonight. Mark's got some news articles to throw up. I've got some news articles to throw up. And I want to say this now. Mark and I were just discussing backstage the next show, 2 weeks from tonight. We want to do a Q&A through the chat with everybody listening, watching, what have you. If you got any questions,
I want it to be interactive.
Comments, yeah, we want you guys to interact with us. We want to get what you guys are thinking and feeling. Any questions you have about preparedness or whatever. I mean, we'll talk about anything. I don't mind.
We'll field everything. Yeah.
So So keep that in mind if you're listening through the podcast format. Come over and check us out at YouTube or check our Facebook group out. You can catch the lives there, and we love to interact with you guys. It's a ton of fun, and it makes it a little more interesting because a lot of times points are thrown out that we're not thinking of. So definitely join us, and I'm sure we'll remind you again, at the end of the show. But yeah, and then next week. Yeah, exactly. Enzo, what if?
Exactly,
Ask me
Enzo.
anything. Exactly. That's it. Next week, we've got a special guest on, Brian Terrell, and he is I'll say cryptid investigator.
Yeah.
And he's going to be on, and we're going to talk cryptids next week on the Fringe. So that's it. I'm excited. He's a super cool guy, really knowledgeable in that field. He talks, Bigfoot, Dogman, stuff like that, and he's experienced them. He's actually seen evidence. He's had experiences with him. He's got an awesome experience down in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, with a juvenile Bigfoot. It's pretty cool. We'll see if we can get him to share that. Anyway, moving on, man. Tonight, there's so much going on in the world. It's hard to pinpoint what exactly we want to look at.
Well, I got my leader here.
Well, let's go. Let's do it.
My giant crush from the 80s and 90s, Brigitte Nielsen, is going to have another baby at 55. So, just wanted to throw that out there. My crush from the 80s and 90s.
I thought I was too old to have kids.
Yeah. I mean, more power to her. I'm glad I'm done. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, who can forget Red Sonja? And I have lost Phil. I don't know if anybody else is on there can hear me. If you can, let me know. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're kind of distorted. I think it's my end. I think it's the weather with Starlink.
It could be. I was getting ready to try to log into another. Chris says she can hear us.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, guys. I mean, maybe a little bit of technical difficulties tonight, but we're going to try to power through it. But yeah, I think I was 39 when my daughter was born, and I was like, man, am I too old for this? But I mean, it's too late. I mean, the deed had been done. So, I wouldn't trade it for the world, though. I love my little girl. So,
well, I am definitely too old, and so I'm very happy for her. I hope that everything goes well. I still have a little bit of a crush, so. But I hope everything goes well. More power to her. And I know that a lot of people are not really big fans of that sort of thing, but I really wish her the best. And so that was my lead in.
Well, that's important.
Yes.
How do you prepare for
child in your 50s?
Yeah, kids in your 50s. How do you do that? Don't
be rich and hire a nanny. Right. That's how you do that. That's how you prepare for that. There's a kit. It's a bank robbing kit. You get a bag and a realistic looking water pistol and a black mask. And if they catch you, then you go to jail and you don't have to worry about it.
Yep, 3 hots in a cot.
There you go. Woohoo!
Yep. Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, we know a guy we used to work with who was like that. I think he was that age when his daughter was born.
He was 55 when his daughter was born, and she with that, and we're going like, oh my gosh, you just make me so tired.
Yep.
But God love him. I mean, he is one of the best guys I ever met. So.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Really was.
I'm sure she's spoiled completely rotten.
Oh, I'm sure. One of my first finds was off the Blaze. I use that for a lot of research because they seem to be one of the most honest and constructive news agencies. You know, I mean, there are opinion pieces. I mean, just like anywhere, but they seem to look for more facts to me. I mean, from what I gather. But this is kind of an opinion, but it makes sense. But it's about Hamas and their true intentions, right? And last time we were on, we kind of talked about everything going on over in Israel and all that, and how Hamas was shooting the Palestinian, their own people that were trying to flee. I'm not going to read the whole opinion piece, but Hamas is saying, the leadership in Hamas says that protecting civilians is for the UN and Israel, not for them.
Hold up. Protecting your own people is not your job?
Right.
I'm sorry, you just forfeited any right to have your own country.
Yep. And then if you remember, Yasser Arafat, may he rest in hell. But during an interview with him, well, no, I'm sorry. Let's see. No, let me just read this. It says, do you remember on 9/11 the images of the Palestinians dancing in the streets? The rest of the world was lighting candles. They were passing out candy. It says, for a minute, the world again glimpsed the true face of Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Liberation Organization. Hamas leader Abu Marzouk, something like that, explained the other day why Gaza's resources had been used to build a network of terror tunnels instead of bomb shelters to protect civilians. Says on TV he was asked why he built 500 kilometers of tunnels but not a single bomb shelter. He explained that the tunnels were meant to protect Hamas fighters under the civilians who are up on the surface. Protecting civilians, he said, was the responsibility of the United Nations and Israel, not Hamas. That's from the party that has absolute control or rule of Gaza since 2006. Said it's important to recognize every time the mask slips because this evil is knitted together. They don't necessarily have everything in common between all of these groups, but they do have the shared desire for the destruction of the Western way of life, the traditional family, Jews and Christians. I think that's pretty substantial when you think about the mask slipping off.
Yeah.
We're starting to see a lot of the masks coming off, not just slipping off, but coming off.
Well, yeah, here in the United States, the amount of anti-Semitism from the people who say you're all racists is just unthinkable.
Yeah. I'll move on a little bit more. Says the Hamas charter is clear about genocide. I mean, I'm skipping around a little bit because they're talking George Soros and Biden and the World Economic Forum. Things like that. It says the elites always let you know that, yes, they do think they know better. And the task at hand is to find the most convenient way to make the masses comply. That's important. The elites are always looking for ways to make masses comply. And we see it. I mean, we saw a lot with.
They don't even make a secret of it.
No, we saw it with COVID-19. We saw it. They were trying to backdoor people into losing their jobs, and this will lead into another article talking about the Army. Did you see this? Well,
I did not.
I'll hit that. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But the Hamas charter is clear about genocide. It says Iran is pretty unambiguous. I can't speak tonight. About its highest ideals: death to Israel, death to America. There's relatively little room for interpretation there. Even if you believe that jihad means struggle for personal benefit, it might mean that to a few Muslim friends of mine. But I can tell you that in Iran, with the current leadership, it certainly doesn't. Their latest proxy is the Houthis in Yemen. Their motto, a curse on Jews. That's their motto. A curse on Jews. Where's the room for interpretation there? ISIS also never pretended it was anything other than what it was. In Hamas's case, their charter is out on the internet for anyone to read. The charter is clear about what Hamas thinks the solution of the Palestinian-Arab conflict should be: genocide. That's not a mask in sight. So for the people who are wearing masks, when they slip, we fail to see it. When they're not wearing masks, we wear blindfolds. We refuse to see it. How and why? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's the media.
Yeah. Now that Mark, that leads to what you were talking about with our Secretary of State, Blinken, right? It was Blinken that you
Yeah, I'm
had.
not sure. But we've had quite a few of them that's been just absolutely rabidly anti-Semitic, and it is sickening to me.
Yeah, where you were talking backstage about how our Secretary of State wants to see a two-state solution.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Here's my deal about Palestine. Yeah, I hope everybody can hear me.
Mhm.
Basically, the statement where it's not their job to protect their own people basically voids any right to have any leadership over the area, as far as I'm concerned. Because if you don't care about your own people, who will? I'll tell you who does. The Israelis do. The Israelis have been providing jobs to Palestinians who cross every day to go to Israel to work. They've been providing medical care for years. But Hamas is building tunnels so they can have a reign of terror.
Yep.
And then everybody's going, "Oh, Israel, stop." I'm sorry. If you shoot at me, I am going to shoot back, and I am going to keep shooting until you stop. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. Or you get me. But you better hope you get me the first time.
And I've also seen articles to where they're claiming that they aren't responsible for them paragliding over the border and killing all those people. And so they're turning the tables. They're changing the story again, because you can't ever, no matter how much proof you have, they're going to deny it. I mean, because they're pure evil. And I don't really believe that's my opinion, because if you are murdering babies, and not just babies, but anybody, I mean, that's pure evil.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, the Palestinians themselves are pretty much innocent of this. They like having jobs. They don't care who provided them. They like having health care. They don't care who provides it. They're not the problem. The problem is the leadership, as it most usually is with any country.
Right.
And the leadership has only one goal, and it's to destroy Israel.
Yeah. And well, that's where I kind of have an issue with, I guess, like you could say. I mean, I agree with you that probably the large majority of the civilians,
The rank and file of the civilians,
are caught in the middle. But I've heard stories of this attack and stuff. One of the terrorists that committed this atrocity called back to his parents, telling them what he did, and they're ecstatic about it. They're praising him, saying he's doing great and all that. They're praising him. So I think it's a twofold problem. I think it's a culture thing, because I truly believe that's part of their culture. They're taught to hate the Jew. I mean, that, and have for
but
millennia.
that falls back to leadership,
right? But I think it's it goes, to me, it goes back to biblical times, if that makes sense. The difference between the Palestinians, from what I was listening to American Family Radio the other day in one of their news shows, and somebody had called in and asked them if the Palestinians are the same sect or tribe, I guess you could say, of the Philistines. And the host, there's like yes and no. I mean, they kind of came from the same place, and he didn't really speak a lot of the differences, but yes, but essentially they are the same. They're derived from the same lineage, or whatever you want to go into that.
They're basically the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was the Greek.
If you look at the linguistics and
Yeah, it was the Greeks that started naming them Palestine and all that. So essentially, I mean, they've been doing this for thousands of years. You think that, I mean, us, the new kid, technically, I mean, really, we're the new kids on the block. You know, we're only a couple hundred years old. And you think, I mean, yeah, it's debatable probably now. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, that, you know, we're the most powerful military in the world and we can't affect hearts and minds. I mean, we saw it in Iraq, Afghanistan, you know, it just went back to the way it was. It sounds like, you know, we have peacekeepers over there in Yemen, getting attacked by Iranian Houthis, you know, or Iranian backed Houthis, I should say. It's nuts over there. And this has been going on for millennia.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we could get into biblical prophecy and say eventually, yeah, there's going to be 3.5 years of peace. But I'm not going to go down that road. Not tonight. But anyway, back to that article, you know, he's talking about the mask coming off and trying to persuade people to do, you know, control the masses or whatever. Remember when the jab came about and they kicked a lot of people out of the military because they wouldn't take it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, this was written on November 20th, says the Army is sending letters to soldiers booted from service for refusing COVID vaccine, asking them if they would like to return. Because they can't meet their numbers.
Nope, you betrayed us. Why would we come back?
Yeah. Let's see, the letter.
Well, you know, they lost half their pilots, the Air Force did,
Yeah.
because the vaccine made them lose their medical certificates because it caused so many problems.
Yeah. Hey, Jess.
Yay!
And my wife there with the Night Acres. Go check that out. We've got some pretty fun videos up. Let's see. The letter read, says, "Dear former service member, we write to notify you of new Army guidance regarding the correction of military records for former military or former members of the Army following rescission of the COVID-19 vaccination requirement." It continued, "As a result of the rescission of all current COVID-19 vaccination requirements, former soldiers who were involuntarily separated for refusal to receive the COVID-19 vaccination may request a correction of their military records from either or both the Army Discharge Review Board or Army Board for Correction of Military Records. Individuals may request a correction to military personnel records, including records regarding the characterization of discharge." The letter added before noting the former personnel could reapply through their local recruiters. Individuals who desire to apply to return to service should contact their local Army, U.S. Army Reserve, or Army National Guard recruiter for more information.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't get it.
They've already stabbed you in the back. Why would you trust them again?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
and then have you seen the new Army commercial? I don't have it up. I can find it, I guess.
I have not. I guess it's.
But, you know, the last few years it's been woke, you know, leaning towards all this trans BS and the alpha LB whatever alphabet. It's all been leaning that way. And now you're looking at operators wanting to come out of helicopters and they're getting on a war footing. You know, they're preparing for war. They're wanting to prepare for war. And I find it laughable.
How are you going to do that?
Because they've done nothing but spit in the face of everybody that was loyal.
Loyalty's got to move both ways or it doesn't work. You can't ask for loyalty when you betray somebody at every turn. And I'm sorry, that's what our government has been doing 10, 20 years, is betraying their own people and wondering why nobody wants to work for them.
Right. Yeah, it's sad to think
It's
about.
ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous. You got anything pulled up?
Yeah. Well, I do. I mean, here's one. Let's get off the whole Israel and
Yeah.
army thing. Big surprise. I know this is going to come as a shock to you, Phil,
Okay.
but Oregon has had they're surprised that opiate deaths have increased 13 times after drug decriminalization law.
Wow. You think?
And they wonder what they need to do to fix that.
Did you see?
And are we back? Yes, they're surprised.
Jeez,
Lawmaker says.
that's crazy. Did you see where Xi Jinping was coming into San Francisco? So they cleaned up the streets, they washed all the filth off the streets, got the drug users off
and then
the
all the
streets and all that.
They got all the homeless off the street. Yeah.
Yep. You know, to clean up the city for. Well, I
want to know is what they did to him. Put them in a concentration camp or something.
Right. Enzo, he put up. See, they forget that our current military is made up of a volunteer force. Nobody was forced to be there. After their betrayal, they've gone through. Why would exactly? That's exactly right, Enzo. I mean, why would you want to go back to that?
Yeah. Let's have another dagger in my back. I like it.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, they cleaned up the whole city, and the question is, in my mind, if they did it for him, why can't they just do that? Yeah, they're not that I've seen, Jess. Jess put no mention of where they put them.
Right.
Yeah. I like to about removing all those homeless. Where'd they go? Yeah. You know, not only that, but going back to, I'm kind of wishy-washy right now, but going back to the veterans, you know, all the homeless veterans, like in New York and stuff, they're kicking them out of hotels to put illegal immigrants in.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
What have those immigrants done for us except money?
Yeah.
They're illegal.
And then Mayor Eric Adams, New York City's mayor. He's under fire from the Biden administration because he spoke out and said, "Hey, this is wrong. We they got a taste of what they wanted, the sanctuary city thing. And now he's realizing, hey, we shouldn't have done this. Now we need help, and the government's not stepping up. So now he's under investigation by the FBI because he spoke out against the current administration. So I'm like, is this not total hypocrisy?
No.
I mean, I don't feel sorry for him. Don't get me wrong there.
The weaponization of the FBI by the government.
Yeah.
They're supposed to protect people, not, be a weapon of the government. That's kind of like the KGB.
Right. Brown shirts. It's ridiculous. Well, okay, I'm done with the whole government thing unless you've got something else with it.
Nope, I'm done with the government in general.
Yeah.
Most days.
Right.
I've got one more with being done with that.
I've got one more, and it's actually an article from Newsweek. But Enzo said they eat their own when they don't fall in line. That's straight up Stalin tactics there. Yes, it is.
Yes.
And it's true. They absolutely do. When one turns on them, the whole pack attacks. The last one I have, government-wise anyway, is from Newsweek. It said the headline is NATO in a race against time to prepare for Russia war. So, it said one. Let me see. I'm skimming through it. I haven't read the article, or at least most of it. NATO risk having to play catch up with Russia despite Moscow's disastrous war in Ukraine, according to the proposal published by the German Council on Foreign Relations think tank earlier this month. Russia authors Christian Molling and Torben Schutz said represents the greatest and most urgent threat to NATO countries. The alliance, the report said, is in a race against time. Oh, dang it. Closed up. Where we go? I just lost it here.
I lost it. I mean, my mind.
Yeah. There we go. Says once intensive fighting will have ended in Ukraine, the regime in Moscow may need as little as 6 to 10 years to reconstitute its armed forces. Within that time frame, Germany and NATO must enable their armed forces to deter and, if necessary, fight against Russia. Only then will they be in a position to reduce the risk to another war breaking out in Europe. If Moscow manages to have its armed forces ready only after 6 years, NATO will find it increasingly impossible to catch up. Newsweek has contacted the Russian Foreign Ministry by email for comment. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his top officials have repeatedly framed their invasion of Ukraine as a war against the collective West. A preemptive strike on an American-led bloc bent on the suppression and dismemberment of Russia. So that's kind of where I'm going to go from there. I mean, it's no secret that our administration has sent tons of our supplies, our ammunition, and all that over there to help Ukraine. Now, there is a question that brings to mind, and I'm afraid to give the benefit of the doubt to this administration because it seems like they're.
I mean, I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, but it seems like they're hell bent on destroying the West too, because it's all part of this World Economic Forum thing, and that's by design. But okay, we've sent them all these weapons. We've sent them cannon rounds, bullets, F-16s, you name it. We've sent them to us. Now the F-16s are an older bird. I mean, were they reliable? Absolutely, they were.
Yeah, they're a good plane.
Don't know a ton about them, but they've been used for decades. I mean, the same amount of time as the F-18, roughly. But we're shipping all this ammo over there. And that kind of leads me to question, okay, do we have more advanced options now? And I'm sure we do than what's being sent.
I'm sure we absolutely do.
Because you see, they're trying to incorporate laser technology on our aircraft. They're trying to, there's tons of, they're trying to incorporate AI into systems and things like that. And that's kind of scary if you ask me.
Have you ever watched Battlestar
like
Galactica?
Yeah.
Can you not see that that's a bad idea?
Right. But it's kind of one of those things. I'm like, but I know they're not giving them all our high tech stuff that I know of. I can't say I know for a fact they're not. Because I would almost be willing to bet we have people on the ground over there, that at least training or directing or something. They're involved heavily, but they're just not coming out and saying it. Is what I believe. I don't think we should be there. We have no dog in the fight over there, in my opinion. Now, considering Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world when it comes, with money laundering. How many billions of dollars have we sent in quote unquote lost?
Yeah, and how do certain lawmakers keep getting richer and richer after we send money over there? And it's like,
Right. And I think you're right. Enzo says they're booting up Skynet as we speak. I think he's saying it in jest, but I think he's right. I think there's a lot more to it.
I don't doubt him.
Because I did read, if I remember right, Xi Jinping and our president in San Francisco were talking about the use of AI weaponry. And they're trying to, they think they signed an agreement or something to not use it. Do you honestly think the CCP is going to not use it if they have an advantage?
They will absolutely. They don't care about agreements.
No.
As long as they win, they win. That's all that matters.
And on that note, do they honestly think that we're not going to use it?
Absolutely, we're going to use it. Realistically,
you're going to find a way to use it.
Yeah, it's
And
like
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of something that's crossed my mind when you're talking about the weaponry and stuff that we've sent over. I mean, sure, it leaves some of our stockpiles low, but what do we have, under lock and key that's going to replace it? Because they're
there's something
talking.
out there.
I would think so. I mean, they're talking years to replenish what we've sent over there for us if something was to happen. Enzo said, from what we've seen, the Russians haven't really filled their top shelf stuff in Ukraine. Right. I mean, is it a ploy? What do you think? I mean, is it a ploy to try to pull us in to a hot war? I mean, again,
I
like
don't
I
know.
said, I'm pretty sure we're already there. I mean, I know we have people in Poland, all in that area. We do. But
right now, it's definitely at least a proxy war.
absolutely it is. Same thing with Israel. There was reports from one of our destroyers shooting down a drone that was coming in for them. I mean, our troops are being attacked by the terrorists supported, from Iran. I mean, there's reports of it at all. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm done now. I'm off that part.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's do something different then. The Coast Guard estimates that more than 1 million gallons of crude oil has been spilled off the coast of Louisiana. Now, this is a bad thing. I don't care who you are. I still think we should be drilling in Louisiana, but I mean, oil spills are bad and should be.
Can I interject something real quick?
Yes.
I heard today that, talking about oil, OPEC is cutting their production by 1 million barrels a day. They just announced here the last couple of days. I haven't seen the article, but think about what that's going to do for your gas prices, home heating. We're rolling right into wintertime. Anyway, sorry. Yep. I just want to throw that in there because that reminded me. I meant to look it up, but I totally forgot.
No, you're right. They're not sure what has caused this oil leak, but they have skimmer vessels out trying to corral it. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there has been a very large oil spill. Wildlife is in danger, and they are working on it.
Well, where's the environmentalist?
Right.
You don't hear anything. I haven't heard or seen anything on that.
Crickets.
Yeah, where's the environmentalist at? Shouting from the rooftops.
Yeah, they don't know where it came from. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a bad thing. I mean, it's a disaster, but why aren't we hearing anything about it? That's my question,
Let's see here. If the environmentalists really cared about the environment, if they really did, it is entirely possible to get rid of almost all the quote unquote fossil fuel stuff by making it a lot easier to build liquid salt reactors around the country. Nuclear power, you could have a nuclear power plant in any city, and you wouldn't have to worry about the whole grid collapsing, because the grid would be broken up into smaller sections, and there would be no rolling blackouts. There would be you wouldn't have to use so much natural gas, although natural gas is very clean compared to coal. You wouldn't use up all the coal. You use less petroleum. And there's even, I'm going to throw this out there, there's even some speculation that petroleum is not a fossil fuel. It is found very far below the fossil layer. And they have seen hydrocarbons in mass spectrometer readings around other stars. It is most likely something that naturally occurs when hydrocarbons are on a planet. But in any case, we can go get oil from other planets probably now.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, see, I've heard that. I've heard that there's a lot of people thinking that petroleum or crude oil isn't fossil fuel. And excuse me. Now I get wind erosion, things like that, especially out here where I live. I mean, I've got trees in my front yard, but I've got nothing but open fields around me. For those of you that haven't been out here, um, a guy we work with, he came out a few weeks ago and he wanted to come metal detect out here because our house is so old. You know, 'cause our house was built in like 1850. And so he's like, man, I want to come check it out and see what's out there. He said, yeah, come on. I don't care. Come dig a hole in my yard. My dog already does it, so it don't matter. But
Might as well find something.
yeah, I know it. And we found some pretty cool stuff. We found an old axe head where they actually formed the axe head around the handle where they would pound it on and bend it all around. It's pretty cool looking. 1885. Okay, well, 5 years in the scheme of but we found, what else did we find? We found like a junk pile, I guess, underneath, you know, quite a bit underneath the ground. And then we also found an old, from what he said, it was an old clock face. It was like an old brass clock face. You know, that would be from around that time, because that's the way people had it. You know, it was wooden, but it had the brass face and the gears and all that. And we found part of the face and some gears that go with it. But, you know, here it is. We're coming up, 175 years old, roughly. And this was only, I don't know, I bet 6 inches underground.
Yeah.
You know, I get, like I said, I get the wind erosion, water erosion, stuff like that. I get that. But, and I'm not doing the math because I don't know the exact date of it, you know, but that takes a long time to get down as far as some of these things. This oil has been found. And I don't know that, I would imagine that predates dinosaurs, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. That's the argument, is that it's not fossil fuel because it is sometimes thousands of feet below where the last fossils can be found.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I've kind of thought about that. I haven't done a lot of introspection on it, but thinking about it, I could see more of it being like a lubricant. You know, I mean, what it's supposed to do. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd like to see.
It's
But
the blood of the earth.
exactly, you know, and I think that's reasonable. You know, analogy is it the lifeblood of the earth? I mean, will it run out? Who knows?
Well, it will run out eventually, but how will more form? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, they found dinosaurs in tar pits, so
Right.
dinosaur fossils. So obviously it existed, you know, when those dinosaurs fell into it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
so it was around at least that long. Anyway, that's
yeah.
an interesting thing to speculate about.
It is, and I think it would. I think we could probably do some research on it. I don't know what we would find. We'd probably find, you know, pros and cons of it, or, you know, the for and against people, you know. But
Most people would
I
tell
think
us
it's an
we're
interesting
crazy.
theory. Yeah, but I think it's an interesting theory. I really do.
I find it fascinating, and you know, there's a lot of theories I don't believe in that I find fascinating, but this
Yeah.
one I actually find some credence in it. So I don't know, and nobody can prove it one way or another, but it's kind of interesting to speculate about.
Yeah. You know, and I was watching the Y Files. I love the Y Files. I was watching
I
it the
do
other
too. Those
day,
great guys
and
are great. You should go watch them.
I haven't. We need to reach out to him, see if he'll come on the show and hang out with us. That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Jess said our property is around the old Osage Trail. It makes sense you would find all sorts of stuff in the ground. Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was something that he brought that I've never heard of before was the electric universe. And the lizard people, exactly, Enzo. My kids love hecklefish. They do. But
I'm not lying. I do too. I want a heckle fish.
it was funny. I think it was either Saturday or yesterday. I think it was Saturday. My daughter asked if she could watch something on YouTube. I was like, yeah, you can find something. She turned on the Wi-Fi's because she likes watching hecklefish. I mean, she loves it. But yeah, but he was talking about this electric universe, and I was like, man, I've never heard of this before. And there's speculation, or it's a theory, about how like the canyons were formed and how there used to be, like Saturn used to be in our daily vision at night or during the day, like not that far from us. And the planets were kind of still bouncing around, so to speak, trying to get in their positions or whatever, but it caused a giant electrical arc. So it caused the caused the Grand Canyon. There was the giant canyon there on Mars and Pluto and all that. And they kind of reinforced it with the gods, the old not Egyptian, but like Greek gods and stuff like that, what they were seeing in the night sky. And it's interesting. I would recommend going and watching it. I'd never heard of that theory before, so I found it interesting. But yeah, I love that show. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree. I love the Y-Files, and while I don't always agree with some of the things, and neither does he,
Right.
I enjoy listening to these theories and the speculation about them, and it's fun.
Yeah, he's a masterful storyteller. He really is. I mean, if it's been debunked, he'll come out and tell you at the end that it's been debunked and this isn't true or whatever. And others like I think Jess has mentioned it before, and I'd like to do a deeper dive on the show. But this guy, I can't remember his name. And Jess, if you're watching and you remember, the guy from Missouri that was building a time machine and disappeared. I don't remember, but that was a fascinating show where he talked about it. I mean, this guy like stole some Transformers when he was
Right, I
first
remember
testing
that.
it, and then he was on Art Bell, and yeah, exactly. And Zoe said he loves how a lot of his stuff has a core in the old Art Bell episode. Yeah, but he's talking about he's on it may be Madman Markham, I think, but he talks about how this guy pulled this off. He got in trouble, went to jail, got out, and he's talking. Then he went on Art Bell, and Art Bell had an electrical background, so everything this guy was saying, Art Bell kind of reinforced. I mean, he was right, and so people started investing. They invested millions. People had Transformers and stuff. They donated, and yeah, Jess. I think it was Marcus Landers. That's familiar. It was a teleport machine because like he would drop a screw. The first one he dropped a screw in, and it disappeared. And then a few seconds later, it showed up somewhere else in the shop. And the bigger the machine got, that went, he tested it eventually, and he was like teleported to something like Ohio or something like that, or farther out east. And it was 2 years later, apparently. So it's a fascinating story, and I'd love to do a show on it just to kind of do a deep dive and all that, just to get an understanding of it better. But it was a fun show. All right, the last article I have is something that we've talked about before, and I'm sure everybody's seen it. But it's by the USA Today. Mike Markham. Okay. So yeah, that was the same person, I guess, with Enzo. But yeah, the last time he tested it, he like disappeared and hadn't been seen. The last I heard, anyway, I didn't see the follow up show, Enzo. But the USA Today that says the Arctic permafrost is 1,000 years old. As it thaws, scientists worry what it might unleash. Says deadly pathogen lying dormant in centuries old Arctic permafrost could become the latest threat from the global climate change. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to go into the climate change debate, but the potential release of the pathogens has seized the attention of the federal government, scientists, medical professionals, and Pentagon officials. Pathogens, disease-causing organisms, I mean, like we're not familiar with that, have been trapped for centuries in frozen ground across the Arctic, including vast swaths of Alaska, Canada, and Russia. Climate change has had a big impact on the far north, where temperatures have risen at 2 to 4 times the rate of the rest of the world. In one troubling case, dozens of people were sickened and thousands of reindeer were killed when anthrax spores emerged from the thawing permafrost in the Arctic region of Siberia and caught local human and animal populations by surprise, researchers say. So, what's your thought? I don't want to go into the whole article, but
I mean, yeah, that's kind of true. But remember that where all this permafrost is used to be open plains where there was no frost,
right.
because it was much warmer. We are still technically in the last part of an ice age. So, I mean, if it thaws, that's just the earth returning to where it belongs. The current low temperatures that we're having now are just the dregs of the end of the ice age. And just, it just occurred to me, and this would be a friend show. And it could be a regular show too. I would really like to dig more into the lesser Dryas melt off. Younger Dryas melt
Dryas.
off.
See, and that's part of that theory as well. Yeah, Enzo, that's it right there. The backyard time machine, travel of mystery. Yeah. That's part of that theory, the electric universe theory as well. Was, they came out of the ice age, they warmed up, and then like froze again, just like within a week, I think is what the time frame was. And it's in the geological record. That's what's fascinating about it. So a lot of people were thinking that something like that happened. They could have been it's not the Pleiades. We're going through this meteor shower right now. I can't remember the name of it. But they think a chunk broke off of that, hit, caused basically a nuclear winter. So it caused everything to cool down really fast. So we're still technically coming out of that, though, I think.
Right. Well, the younger Dryas is where we had the floods.
Right. So that would explain it. I mean, if you think about the way things would probably happen, I think if a massive asteroid hit, you'd have tsunamis, you'd have huge waves, worldwide earthquakes, because it would affect the whole volcanic chain. So it's really kind of weird to think about when you look at all of it, how it's all connected. But so that would explain why the flood hit, and how every civilization on the earth at the time has a flood story.
Yeah,
how they
all over the world, every continent has a flood story. And when you think about it, we had miles thick glaciers as far south as, I want to say, the Nebraska border, as far south as Nebraska, miles deep. I mean, huge cliff of ice. What happens if a very large chunk of asteroid hits that? Well, you get a big melt off, and when the ice dam breaks, it floods. It floods everything. The oceans rose 400 feet. Any civilization at that time would have been along the coast. It's just instantly wiped out.
Right.
So,
And there's what man, I can't remember the name of them now. There's signs of a civilization in Turkey that predate the floods and all that. I want to say it was like 16,000 years ago. I mean, you guys listening, have heard us talk about, Graham Hancock and talking about 13,000 years ago. Yes, the Taurid meteor shower.
yes.
But man, I can't remember the name of it now. We talked about it last week.
Of the Graham Hancock show.
Well, that's where it led. But I was watching Göbekli Tepe. That's it right there.
Yeah.
And then they have found actually an older civilization, or city site, going past where the accepted science is saying, that can't happen. That doesn't exist or whatever. There's
they
no
found
evidence.
stuff all over the world that's
Right.
too old to really be there. The geologists are saying, yes, this is how old it is. And the archaeologists are saying, oh, no, you're full of crap. It's only this old.
Right.
The geologists are going, so my science is less valid than your science?
Right. It's a pissing contest, really.
It is. It is.
Oh, Jess, I would too. That'd be awesome. I mean, she said
she'd love
to spend the day talking to Graham.
I want to move into his house.
But
I mean, I want to work for Graham Hancock. That's what I want to do.
That'd be cool.
That would be a dream job.
I forgot what I was going to say now. He is fascinating, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, one of the theories that I've listened to is how there is the dog star, Canis Major or whatever it is.
Sirius.
Through all Sirius, yeah. All of these ancient civilizations throughout the world have noted that star as being related to a dog. Like I think some of the Native American tribes were saying they're like the wolves, the wolf, but every civilization around the world was pointing at that constellation and making it like a dog. Could it be coincidence? Yeah, but I really don't believe in coincidence. Yeah, exactly. Enzo says the archaeologists say humanity was still caveman hunter-gatherer back that far, still found the time to build some amazing structures, though. Yeah. But one of the theories is it ties in kind of with Atlantis, to where after the destruction of Atlantis, there were survivors and they settled the rest of the world. They traveled out and shared their knowledge, because they said there's no signpost saying when they got this advanced technology, like building and agriculture and all that. There's no signpost before 13,000 years ago, but they're now finding that this was happening. So they're saying, well, no, it didn't happen, kind of the whole archaeology things. So it's kind of interesting. And yeah, Enzo said, well, Sirius is the brightest star you can see from Earth. It's just ancients notice it and make up mythologies around it. Yep.
It's just interesting that they make up the same mythology.
Right. And I found out, I find that fascinating. The theory behind it, right or wrong. To me, it doesn't really matter. I just find it interesting.
Well, I'd like to get that time viewer that the Vatican supposedly has hidden,
right?
And just let's use the Wayback Machine, Mr. Peabody.
Right.
I want to see. I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to know. I am so fascinated. How much history has been lost? How many great men have risen and fell? Maybe we had civilizations run by women or aliens.
Yeah.
Well, and some would argue that having a civilization ran by women would be kind of alien to what we're used to now.
I
I
would
mean,
agree.
they think differently. I mean, so it would be a lot different than what we have now. Better or worse, I mean, it probably isn't any better or any worse, just different.
Yep. Yeah, Enzo.
The chronovisor, yes. I
Yep.
need one in my closet.
That'd be cool.
Wouldn't it?
But yeah, man, I'm out of articles. I don't have a lot more to share unless you do.
I really don't. This has been a fun episode.
Yeah,
and I
it's been
look
pretty
forward into a couple weeks when we do question and answer from the chat. So share. We're going to put something up on the Facebook page. Share the hell out of it. I want as many people on there to ask questions.
Yeah,
Ask us anything.
Yep. It'll be the 4th, Monday the 4th, 7 p.m. Central. Feel free, jump in the chat.
Or send us an email.
And yeah, shoot us an email if you have questions. But yeah, we'd love to have you in the chat. We love the interaction. We just want to take your questions concerning like preparedness or share your thoughts on what's going on and what you don't have to tell us what you're doing to prepare. I mean, I hold that pretty close to my chest. Even on my wife and I's YouTube channel, the Night Acres. I mean, I don't share a lot of what we're doing behind the scenes, if that makes sense. I like to keep that to myself. So, but yeah, we'd love for you guys to come join the chat, ask questions, share opinions. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, this is, like I've said many times, this isn't just our show. This is everybody's show. We're just the mouthpieces. And it's fun, man. It's fun to hang out. I mean, most of the people that have been in the chat recently, we know personally, yeah. But I wouldn't have met some of these guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't have met some of these guys without the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It says, to be clear, this would be what if tomorrow questions, not Fringe questions. Right. What if tomorrow questions?
That is the intention. Although I'll answer anything.
Yeah,
right or wrong, I'll answer it.
Yeah, maybe we do that on the Fringe too. One time, here later on or whatever.
Absolutely. We could make it a regular thing.
Yeah. Don't forget, next week on the Fringe, Brian Terrell is going to be here. We're going to be talking cryptids. I'm excited about that. It's going to be fun. This is going to be the first guest we've had in a long time, and hopefully more to come. I want to really start leaning that way. We have more guests on to kind of get everybody out there. And on that note, I mean, I appreciate everybody that's downloading, everybody that's listening. Through podcast, our numbers are going up. Like we bragged last week, we're the 58th ranked podcast in Greece on iTunes. It's great. I mean, I find it great. And it's exciting, I mean, I love to see the growth. I'd love to see the new people in the chats and on the pages. And we just invite everybody to come over, ask questions, come hang out with us. It'll be a great time.
Come hang out at our house.
Yeah. See, I don't have anything else, Mark. I don't.
I got something to show you after the end of the show, but I mean,
okay. That'll work for me. With that being said, everybody, we appreciate it. And we will catch you next episode.
Have a good night, people.